Hey there.
Yeah.
Ever have those days where like silence is the only thing that gets you still? You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're diving into today with this piece, um, Texto Calado.
Okay.
Now, I know it's in Portuguese,
Right.
but the feels it explores, like that yearning to connect and feeling kind of overwhelmed by everything,
Yeah.
those are universal,
Right.
right?
Totally.
Like when we just crave some quiet and understanding without words even.
Hmm.
And the piece starts with this powerful image longing for someone to be like an armchair for our soul.
Oh, wow.
Not to, fix us or give advice, just to be
So just
there.
be present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
It makes me think about how much we need empathy and connection as humans, especially when life gets complicated.
Hmm.
Like in those moments when we're vulnerable, just having someone there who gets it, that can be so comforting.
Totally. And then the text even says, the most eloquent thing we can offer is our silent presence.
That's true.
Like words aren't enough, you know.
Yeah.
Just being there is the best gift.
Absolutely.
But then the piece shifts gears a bit. It talks about this weird thing where you can be surrounded by people,
Right.
but still feel totally alone.
Yeah.
It says something like seeing people and more people, but feeling like the most alone being in the universe. Have you
Wow.
ever felt that way?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's like this isolation, even in a crowd.
Right.
And the text seems to say that sometimes being sad together, it doesn't always bring you closer.
Andrew,
Sometimes it can actually make you feel more isolated.
it's like everyone's got their own storm cloud over their head.
Yeah.
And instead of finding shelter in each other, it just pours.
Exactly. Everyone's dealing with their own weather, and it's hard to really connect.
Yeah.
Hard to find peace in that.
And the text even describes life itself that way, chaotic. It says life seems to have a life of its own, independent of us.
Oh, wow.
Like we're at its mercy. Have you ever felt that?
Absolutely. It's like the world is swirling around and you're just trying to hold on.
Yeah, like being caught in a riptide.
Yes.
And the text talks about wanting the contemplation of silence to deal with that.
Interesting.
What do you think about that?
I think it shows how powerful looking inward can be.
Hmm.
Like when the world is too much, if you can go inside yourself,
Right?
it can be calming. It can help you process things.
It's like hitting pause on all the demands and just breathing. Sometimes you just need a moment to gather yourself,
For sure.
which I think leads to what the text talks about next, this need to process and find some order in the chaos.
Hmm.
It's like this yearning for renewal.
Yeah, like a cleansing.
And the text describes it so well.
It does.
This desire to cry until we're tired and hoping for a reset.
It's raw and honest.
That really struck me too, how vulnerable it feels.
Yeah,
Like admitting that sometimes things are just messy inside
totally.
and wanting to start fresh.
Like hitting a reset button.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the text even talks about finding perfect symmetry in our souls. What do you think that means?
I think it's that human need to find order, especially after something hard.
Mhm.
It's like putting the pieces back together.
Yeah.
Trying to find balance again.
But even when we're looking for that, that inner peace,
Right.
the text doesn't pretend like comfort is always there.
Yeah.
There's this part where it talks about feeling completely unheard.
Oh, wow.
Like
Yeah.
even by something bigger than ourselves,
It's heavy.
it compares it to being trapped in Dante's Inferno.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
Intense, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that comparison?
It just shows how raw and vulnerable the author is being.
Mhm.
Like there's this total despair, a feeling of being abandoned, even by something divine.
It's deep stuff.
Yeah.
But even in that darkness, the text seems to shift a little.
Okay.
Like maybe turning inwards for comfort.
Interesting.
Like even if no one else gets it, maybe there's still strength inside us.
I think that's so important, finding that quiet strength within. That resilience we have even when everything's chaotic around us.
Exactly.
Like those moments of feeling totally alone they can show us a different kind of strength.
It's like that saying, sometimes you have to be your own hero.
Right. It's not about pretending the pain's not there.
Yeah.
It's about getting through those tough emotions and coming out stronger.
I like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think of another part of the text, wanting to just disappear when things are rough.
Oh, yeah.
Like when the world's too much and you just want to retreat.
It's such a human thing,
It is.
You want to protect yourself from hurting more.
For sure.
But even though it's hard, sometimes what we need most is to connect with others.
Yeah. It's like that saying, a burden shared is a burden halved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just having someone listen to you, to be there with you in the struggle can make a world of difference.
Totally. And it seems like the text gets that we need both,
It does.
time alone and time with people.
It doesn't give easy answers, but it gets how complex our emotions are.
And speaking of complex, the text compares life to agrodolce.
Agrodolce.
It's Italian for bittersweet.
Okay.
It even mentions Vander Lee and Gal Costa, those musicians.
I see.
What do you think about that connection?
It's really insightful. Like, life isn't always happy, obviously.
Yeah.
There's going to be sadness and hard times.
For sure.
But those tough moments can be beautiful, too.
Yeah.
They can make life richer in ways we don't expect.
Finding beauty in the bittersweet.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like accepting that life's not always going to be perfect.
Right.
It's about the whole experience, the good and the bad.
Exactly. And I think the text is saying that when we accept that duality, that's when we find some peace.
It's not about ignoring the tough stuff, but seeing it as part of being human.
Absolutely.
Like it's okay to not be okay all the time.
Right. Those rough days are going to happen.
Right.
They don't mean you've failed or anything. They're just part of the journey.
They're part of the journey. And speaking of journeys, the text mentions 17 readers.
Interesting.
It seems random, but I feel like it means something more.
What do you think it means?
I don't know. Like maybe it's about how powerful art and creativity can be.
Okay.
And how we connect through shared experiences.
I see.
Like those 17 readers are anyone who's felt understood
Right.
because of someone else's work.
Right.
It reminds us we're not alone in what we're going through.
That's a nice thought.
It's like when you hear a song or see a painting
Yeah.
and it just clicks with something inside you.
Totally. Like the artist gets you.
Yes. And in that moment, you don't feel so alone.
Exactly. It's a good reminder even when things are tough.
It really is. Like someone else gets it. They've been there too.
It's like this unspoken thing between you and the artist.
I like that.
You're sharing this vulnerability,
Yeah.
this willingness to feel things deeply,
Mm-hmm.
and they give you a sense of belonging in return.
They remind you that everyone goes through this stuff.
Exactly. And that brings us to the heart of it all, I think.
Okay.
Finding peace in knowing that life is messy.
Life is messy. With all its ups and downs, it's still a journey worth taking.
A journey with both joy and sorrow,
Yeah.
sunshine and rain.
And, as the text says, it's about accepting that agrodolce.
That bittersweetness.
Exactly. That's where the peace comes from.
It's about realizing those tough times, those dark periods.
Yeah.
They're not failures. They're not you getting off track.
Right?
They're part of the journey, too.
Like the text is saying, it's okay to let go a little bit. To stop trying to control everything to make life fit into perfect boxes of good and bad.
It's about learning to dance in the rain.
I love that. Find those moments of beauty, even in the tough times.
And that makes me think, you know, if life is this mix of light and shadow,
Yeah.
what helps you through those inevitable rainy days?
What brings you peace when the world feels overwhelming? Think about that. Explore those parts of yourself. You might find some hidden strength there. Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep feeling, and keep diving deep.